Welcome back. Just in case you joined us, this is KBC News Check. On this second hour, we are looking at matters governance. You do remember after the Azimio maandamanos on Monday, yesterday the head of state in his tour in Germany, he said that of course every Kenyan will be protected, property and lives will be protected as well, and also urged all Kenyans to follow the rule of law. Of course, the maandamanos have been condemned by some quarters and leaders calling for a ceasefire and dialogue between the two leaders, including Africa Union head. He talked about that yesterday because when Kenya sneezes, Africa catches a cold. And also religious leaders and the clergy yesterday urged the two to put the differences aside and have a discussion in regards to what is happening, because tomorrow we expect another maandamanos. Azimio will go on with their third leg of the maandamanos, and also leaders are calling for ceasefire in the political rhetoric that we have in the country at the moment. Let's take responsibilities over what we say and what we do, because Kenya is one and Kenya is for all of us. That's a discussion that we're going to have right now, and I've really tried to avoid leaders or politicians, as sometimes they can be fueling animosity here and there. But we are putting things into perspective with two governance experts, and allow me to introduce them. On my immediate left, we have Dr. Isaack Hassan, and just next to him, we have Mwalimu Peter Amunga.
Yes.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Pleasure.
Thank you. First things first, we have lost an MP from your region, Hassan, who is the MP for Barisa in Mandera.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ben. This morning we have woken up with a sad news where one of our member of parliament, specifically member of parliament from Banisa constituency in Mandera County, lost his life as a result of an accident that occurred 3 days ago, and he was hospitalized and undergoing treatment in Aga Khan Hospital, where he succumbed to those injuries. Hassan is one of the he's a second-term MP for Banisa constituency, and he's one of well-respected leaders, particularly politicians, member of parliament, who is down to earth in his constituent and the larger county. And we are sad, and we, as we say in our Islamic faith, we lost him in a very holy month of Ramadan. We pray for him. May his grave widen. Allah widens for him. And we always say that in Alillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un, we come from God and we go back to him. And we wish the family that during this time of difficulties, we wish them patience, and I know it's very painful, and we pray for them.
Mwalimu, you want to weigh in on that? Just a minute.
No, I think Dr. has put it so well. Pole sana to the family. It is a time when in Kenya we wouldn't want to hear that kind of news, but it has happened. And the fact that it happened because of a motorcycle accident, somebody hit him, and we are told it was a hit and run incident. It's very unfortunate. Our roads sometimes can be very scary. We urge our border riders and people who use our roads, let us be courteous, and let us think about other people. Let us be mindful of other people's welfare.
Well. The great people of Barisa constituency, and also Mandera as a whole, and Kenya and the parliament as well, have lost a great leader. And away from that, looking at what the head of state yesterday spoke about, yes, he is privy to what transpired in the country on Monday, and I'm quite sure any president wouldn't want to hear something is happening back home and he is not there. But all the same, he talked about that rule of law, and that property and lives of Kenyans will be protected. He was addressing Kenyans living in the UK. You were in Germany, you were in the UK the other day, and also the president, there's a day that he was also assuring our diaspora brothers and sisters that Kenya will be a country governed by the rule of law and order. This is something that we need to hear at this moment. Dr.
Ben, I totally agree with what the president has said in terms of strictly following the rule of law. And those are some of the things that keeps us going as countrymen. Where there is no law, there is no life. You know very well, in countries, neighboring countries that have lost their governors, and we know what kind of things they have gone through. We know the status of generations that have been lost. So we will never want to go that direction. However, there are some few things that I wanted to highlight in terms of what is going on and the direction in which we are taking, which is not very promising. Our constitution allows us very well that we can demonstrate. We have freedom of demonstration, picketing, but there is something anchored under that constitution in chapter 7, which says that must be peaceful, unarmed. The word unarmed should be bold, because that is where we are missing some of the things in terms of the rule of law. You see, when you look at our demonstrators, people who are demonstrating, the young men coming out of their houses, coming with machetes, coming with stones, that is already arms. So when you are armed, regardless of whether you claim that you will be peaceful, you cannot be peaceful when you are already soldiered, you are armed. In other countries, for example, just throwing a pen to a soldier in America will get a bullet, because nobody wants to play with the life of the other person. And if we don't want to go very strict on the value of life of people, then we will end up crashing, and we'll go back to like the way Somalia is now. We'll go ungoverned. And that time it won't be better for whether you are upper class, whether you are lower class, or whether you are a common person in the street. It won't be very good, because peace is something that will going to thrive every society. Because one, you will not sleep if there is no peace. Two, you will not have right for your property. Anyone can pick it, whoever is strong. You know, it's a jungle law. So one of the things that I think he has pointed out, the president, is that we must follow this blueprint of our constitution, that we said Kenyans are peace-loving nation. Kenyans are people who want to follow their law to, they want to be governed by the laws that is protecting them. And we should also respect and uphold the constitution. That way, having said that, there are two things that perhaps people sometimes take it for granted. You may think that you are spoiling something. You will open an arena for unexpected arena that you will have not known. Politicians make war. They don't make peace. It is known everywhere globally that politicians usually brew war, but peace does not come from them. So peace comes from the society, peace comes from the community, and we should understand exactly what is difficult for us in terms of building this nation, so that we look at it keenly. For example, there are two things that currently is being advocated so much into the demonstration as a demand from the opposition. One is, for example, lowering the cost of living. Two is opening a server. I don't know which server is that. And the other one is,
of course, electoral
reforms. When historically you look at it very keenly, all those things can be done in a boardroom. It does not require street demonstrations to lower the life of the cost of living. Why do I say so? The last few days that there were demonstrations, dollars have hiked up. Why? You have already increased the cost of living. People are not doing their business, incomes are not flowing, and people are running away from the country.
Yes, and that is where I want to pick it from, because yesterday the head of state was addressing our diaspora brothers and sisters, and of course the whole world, and looking at here back home, of course they need that assurance, as being they're giving over 400 billion billion Kenya shillings.
Yeah.
And looking at the stock market, which has a lot of external investors. I remember yesterday I saw an interview where the CEO of the Nairobi Securities Exchange, Kitoni, was talking about 8 billion shillings in investment that some of the investors had to pull out, and so the NSE had a hit. And he said we really needed to curb this now before we incur huge losses. And as Doc has talked about, look at the shilling where it is right now. The president's sentiments yesterday, bearing in mind he's a symbol of national unity, is a very important message.
And that is where the bottom line is. The president, people just didn't wake up and invade the farm of the former president Uhuru Kenyatta. There must have been some plan. There must have been some intelligence that something was going to happen. You see, it is not right as a president or anybody else to cry foul after things have happened. You know, what needs to be done is that as a president, as a leader, you take the reins, you take the instruments of power that you've been given to rein in anything that may bring anarchy, anything that may bring that may disable our nation, our economy. As a president, the president needed to have acted earlier, because we can tell, and I can say it without any fear of doubt, that prior to the invasion of the Kenyatta farm on Monday, there were statements that had been released by leaders. Some of them very powerful leaders in this government. They stood in a church, and one of them said, if this and this happens, on such and such a time, we shall invade your farm. One of those leaders even went ahead, a CS in this country, a member, a minister, went ahead and wrote on his social media Twitter page and wrote some words that implicated that there is something we are going to get, something,
and we know about it.
And we know about it, that we are aware. A communication expert, a person who works like me in communications, and who is right now has been nominated as a CAS in charge of communications. My friend and my brother Dennis Itumbi tweeted on his Twitter account and wrote Northlands a day before these people invaded. Those kind of words are not words that just can go out unnoticed. It means something was cooking, something was happening. By the time this invasion happened on the Kenyatta farm, we are informed that our police, and Dr. has quoted that we are a country ruled by law. Even me personally, or even where Dr. comes from in is it Mandera?
Yes, Mandera.
I want to tell you, Dr., if somebody invaded your camels this morning, or if somebody went for I have some few cows in the village in Kakamega, if somebody went for my cows today and the area chief called me and said, or even somebody called me, the people working my farm called me and said, there is a problem on your farm, people have invaded your farm. I want to assure you, a policeman will land in my farm. I'm not a very big person. I don't command a lot of respect in this country, as maybe the former president Uhuru Kenyatta does. But a policeman, I want to assure you, a policeman will arrive on my farm. Maybe in 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, but somebody will arrive on my farm to check what's happening. I am surprised, and many Kenyans are surprised, that 24 hours later is when policemen were able to reach President Uhuru Kenyatta's farm, or former President Kenyatta's farm. We don't take it just that it must have happened like that. There must have been a plan. And that is what we are urging President William Ruto. Now take over the control of this country. Don't allow, as a president, your ministers, your communication experts to write, to incite, to say words that may bring us a problem as a country. Sudan, the country called Sudan, the revolution in Sudan, what has changed Sudan up to today is not even stable. Somebody went on the street because of bread. Bread increased their prices. Bread went up. The price of bread went up. And that is what brought Sudan down. It is true that in demonstrations as a country, we are allowed to picket and to demonstrate. It's not very true. But what was happening on that farm along Thika, or is it somewhere in the Northlands, was not about demonstrations or picketing. People went there, not they were going to demonstrate. They went there to steal.
They were not picketing. They were not
picketing. Those were thieves.
That was picking. That was
picking. They were picking goats. They were picking the property of this president. And the media, international media, where you are telling me that the president was addressing people in Berlin, Kenyans living in Berlin.
Yes.
Let me assure you, I was that day on TV. All international media houses did not talk about the Maandamano in Kibera or Maandamano in Kawangware. They concentrated on what was happening on the Kenyatta farm. Why? Because Kenyatta is a name. It's a name that fought for independence in this country. It's a name that commands respect across the world. Every camera in this world went to the Northlands. That is where they were concentrating. It's no longer about the demonstrations. It's about anarchy. And one of the headlines in this country, was it today or yesterday, read, "Stop this anarchy, stop this madness." And the only person who can do it is the president.
Good. And still on the same, I remember the Right Honorable former Prime Minister Raila Odinga said that he has no beef with the police, but the person who is supposed to be guiding the police, he has issues with, because he talked about 24 hours later, and during the Maandamanos, we had police everywhere.
Every corner.
You cannot explain that, and of course, no arrests have been made. So he raised concerns into how these demonstrations are being protected, because Article 37 is talking about picketing and demonstration, and talks about the police should provide security to demonstrators for the peaceful demonstrations.
Right.
And he went up there. Maybe he's talking about the CS, because he talked about the one who is in command of the police. Maybe he talked about the IG or even the CS himself. Do you think that as a government that maybe the CS for Interior should have spoken by now?
Right. I would like to begin from a different perspective in addressing that, because there are a number of issues that I think in normal circumstances we don't pick it positively. I think it is good everything should be looked at from different dimension, so that we are able to say this specific thing happens as a result of this. First and foremost, I think police are just human beings like us. We don't have robot police in our country. And you know very well there was massive demonstrations everywhere in the city. Every other part of every corner of the city, perhaps there were police officers who were manning those areas. But two things emerge when some things happens, is when people like talking about it so much. One, do we have our police officers doing their work in the right manner? Do we facilitate them, or we always condemn them? Why am I saying so? If a policeman pushes demonstrators who are looting, in essence, there are people who are carrying machetes. They were carrying machines that cutting, those machines that are used for pruning trees. And a policeman has a gun, and he's not able to use his gun. What happens? He's a father of someone, he's a mother of someone, he's a son of someone. He will keep observing, because that is massive looters who have come out to loot. And when people are looting property, they don't remember anything else. They only see the property. But a number of things that has happened is not rightfully observed. One, I think it was wrong for the police or the commanders of the police not to mention or respond appropriately on that demonstrators or the looters. We call them looters because they are never demonstrators, those ones. Because the demonstration was going on somewhere else, where even the leaders of the Azimios were.
Kindly hold the thought. You were mentioning something very closely related to what she's talking about.
Yeah, first and foremost, I think she has put very well part of the, areas that each and every person always pick in the Constitution in regards to the current situation. The only thing that perhaps I will have mentioned is that sometimes we don't balance the situation. We have this happening. We have, I mentioned, like, for example, the police. At what point a police officer is supposed to use his weapon? Because if a demonstrator is already armed, And the thing, and the Constitution says the person should not be armed and should be peaceful. Are we talking about arms, guns, or are we talking about any crude weapon that is likely to harm someone and cause death, like machetes, stones, you know? So police are stoned. That's already armed. Do we still say that that is human right? Do we still say that that is they should not use any force? Are we expecting them to go back with injuries into their areas of work, go back home there and nurse their injuries? Or we need to redefine what it means by peaceful demonstration, which I know it is very clear in the Constitution, but when it comes to the reality, it never goes beyond the documented article. Now, if such thing happens, I think the best thing for us is we must define very clearly, and the public should know, the demonstrators should know, when a certain level of threshold level is met, then police have the right to use their weapons. Why I'm saying that is that if there is no fear, I mean, human beings are controlled by fear. The laws you must fear the law, because the law will curtail you, the law will take you to jail, and you'll be taken to courts and sentenced for your crime. If people don't fear that, then we will be unruly. But in terms of the incident that happened in the former president's farm, there are two scenarios. One, probably people who knew already the content of that farm, and they were looking for an opportunity to get things, to get those resources which are there, and yet they are missing. Because look at this, what we have gone through the last few months. Drought has been there. We have been going through a lot of starvation. Cost of living has gone high, and people are going without meal. And if they hear that there are demonstrations going on this other side of the country, and the police are concentrating on the demos, the main demos, because what happened in the first day when they came to Isli, or when they came to part of the town, they looted many shops. Kisumu, you hear there are a lot of supermarkets which have been looted. And when something like that happens in the demonstration, police will be eyeing, looking at where the main event will take place, monitoring and tracking and providing the necessary security for the leaders who will be in that particular area, the area that the leaders will be. Probably these goons have used that opportunity to go and attack that farm and loot it, because nobody, I pass that route regularly. Every time I want to go to Thika, every time I want to go to my homeland, I've never known there are animals inside there. I only see the forest. So these are people these are people who knew that place.
And are you disturbed by the fact that there is no leader, despite the fact that we have seen leaders over and over again in the last couple of months talking about a lot of issues, more or less animosity? They haven't even recorded a single statement.
I need to say something.
I think before Malimu you pick, I think I need to answer that question, which is, leaders are individuals, and everyone should carry his own cross. Meaning that there are some leaders who have uttered some things which will cause tribal clashes. We don't want to go back to where we were in 2007. None of us will going to accept. But the point is that if the police has not summoned them for their utterance, the National Cohesion and Integration Commission has not summoned them, then there is a problem with the systems that were supposed to be doing that particular role. However, people will like to use, there's what is going on. What is going on is that some people are backing Mheshimiwa Raila, others are trying to back the government. And in that situation, people will want to smear other people's processes or images or their utterances. So as Mwalimu has mentioned very clearly, if the president does not take responsibility of ensuring that his troops do not utter things that are unconstitutional, things that can cause tribal clashes, things that can, for example, Uhuru probably has his own followers as well. If these were goons, we know very well these were goons, and we know they were benefiting from the fact that security apparatus were diverted, their attentions were diverted towards the main rallies or demonstrations which were going on. But the bottom line is that he will have also some goons, and if he interprets it wrongly and he says perhaps these were not goons and these were people who have been sent, then those people who support him will also wish to go and attack other people's property, which will going to cause a lot of chaos, and which is something that we will not want to encourage, we will not want to entertain. And I tend to think, as leaders of this country, as people who are living in this nation, people who want to have future for their children, I think this mess should be stopped, both the Azimio team and these other people who are boiling it from their other side, so that we live our peaceful life. We can stay with our hunger, but we can't stay with war.
Yeah, Mwalimu, you wanted to add something on that, because looking at the leaders that we have, there are some utterances which a lot of Kenyans are uncomfortable with in the last couple of months, but we haven't even seen them record even a statement or being summoned by the NCIC. NCIC yesterday, via their chairman, released a statement and actually had a press conference talking about ceasefire in matters of politics and also the ceasefire between the two political leaders.
Ben, the issue about Kenya is double standards. Even as Daktari is airing his views, Daktari, I believe he speaks from the point of view that talking about a nation that is well governed, obeys the law, and but we are living in a nation where double standards are applied. And what we have seen in the last 2-3 days is double standards. Well, that's what the Human Rights Commission is talking about. We can't have a situation whereby we can praise one side that went to invade a farm and say that's okay, they were hungry and they were looking for food, and then this other side that went to the streets with sufurias and mwiko on the streets, and we say those ones are hooligans. I tend to think that's double standards. The buck stops with the president and the Ministry of Interior, nothing else. You cannot tell me that you concentrated your troops on a few people. You say those ones are the bad ones in Kisumu, or the ones who are bad in Mombasa, and then you say that the ones who are going to rob a farm in Thika, those ones are okay because they're hungry, they are looking for food. No way. We are saying, as a country, there has to be rule of law, and law does not, law is not a respect of one person or the other. Wanasema kwa Kiswahili, sheria inakata nyuma na mbele. What we needed to see and we need to hear, and I'm saying it on national television, by now, it's not to be Mwalimu here condemning issues here. It should be the Minister of Interior by now should have spoken and condemned what happened in the Northlands of Kenyatta family. Had to have condemned what happened in Kibra, where a mosque was burned, where a church was burned. That's what we call anarchy. That's not demonstration. Let Kenyans, and I want people, we are very dishonest as a country. We like shifting blame, and now we want to call it demonstration. What was happening was not demonstrations. It was anarchy. It is lack of disorderliness. It is criminal. Demonstration is anchored in the law. I can come out of this studio right now and go out here and demonstrate out here peacefully and walk on the road. It is in the law. But when you go and burn a mosque, when you go and burn a church, you are now a criminal. We expected to hear, where are these people who did those kind of things? Where have they been taken, arraigned in court? They are known. Let me tell you, if I pick your phone, or you pick your phone right now, people have already identified those goons who went into the Kenyatta farm. One of them, I know him, I was with him in school, in Nyeri High School. I know him. And I've sent those words to DCI. I've told him I know this guy. Yet DCI has not even responded to my text, even to my tweet, saying that I know this guy was in that farm. He owns a power saw in a timber yard in Karatina. I know him.
But they haven't responded to that, and that is something that is bringing a lot of issues.
That's where the tension is coming from.
To the government, because we expect accountability in any way you look at it.
Yes.
If at all we are being told how the security operation is going on in North Rift and also in some parts of
Samburu and
Laikipia, then we also need to be told the current situation when it comes to demos, because these demos, I believe, they are also as damaging as the cattle rustling that is going on up there. So we need an update of what is going on. We need to see some people arrested. We need to see some people arraigned, and we need to see the NCIC and all these other stakeholders.
In fact, I was just going to speak something about that. I was going to say that, you see, what the seriousness of this matter is that as a country, we are also facing banditry up in the north. And when we have lawlessness happening around Nairobi here, near the capital city, and we know very well in the north we have deployed our forces, we have deployed, including our army, to go into those areas to help us stop banditry. And yet on this very national television, once in a while, we watch on TV here that people from Samburu, people from Pokot, from Baringo, they come on TV and say that, yes, we hear this army here coming, but we're still being killed. We are still being, our properties are still being destroyed by the same bandits that we're being told that are being taken care of by the government. I want to say this. The problem, the difference between Kenya and, say, South Africa, we saw maandamano in South Africa. We saw demonstrations. Julius Malema was leading a demonstration in South Africa. And we saw the police were escorting the demonstrators along the road. In fact, they were even dressed in uniform, all those demonstrators. And they were walking peacefully along the road, and they were heading towards where they were going. The difference now with our Kenyan demonstrations is that in Kenya, we still are guided by the 1950 law. The laws that govern our police, the ones they use, the Public Order Act that we use as police, is that one of 1950 when we had Mau Mau. It has never been changed. We still believe that as long as anybody goes on the street, he's a person who is out to cause chaos and anarchy. As a country, we still believe that our laws treat demonstrators as people who are going out there to loot and to destroy. I have been a teacher in Kenya National Union Teachers of Kenya National Union of Teachers. We as workers, whenever we have gone on the street, we never go to loot. We go maybe to demand a salary. We go maybe to say that we want a pay hike. We have always been tear-gassed. Not because we have done anything wrong. We have not looted. We've only gone there to look for our right. But we have always been dispersed by tear gas. Why? Because the 1950 Act that was put in place has never been changed.
Dr. you want to add something on that in regards to how we are observing the rights of Kenyans?
I think Mwalimu has taken things out of proportion in terms of what I said. At any one time, I have not accepted any individual to go and loot other person's property. That is not the thing. What I'm trying to bring out is that, as he has put it rightfully, South Africa people demonstrate in a very civilized way. We are not civilized. It's not the police. I think he is putting a lot of weight on the police. I don't think so. The beginning of all the anarchy we are talking about, one, utterance of the politicians, two, the followers of those politicians who are demonstrators. In civilized society, Mwalimu, people go to a park, for example, Uhuru Park. Everybody assembles there, and everybody is confirmed that he is not armed. Then from there, they start making their move. Look at how South Africa has done it, very, very systematically, in a very civilized manner. Now, ours, one comes from the other side carrying a stone, the other one carrying machetes, others are screaming. It is not demonstration. That is called hooliganism. And when people are doing hooliganism, there is no way police can be blamed. Police should be in a position to suppress those hooligans, which is done in every other society, including the civilized society, who have told us demonstration should be very much peaceful, which I agree it should be very peaceful and it should be having a right. But one thing that must be very clear is that each and every person in this country has a right, including the police officers, whom most of the time the blame goes to. I don't think if someone should wake up and say, if your Mwalimu's son is a police officer or wife, and she goes to the demonstration, she goes and faces the demonstration, he'll be worried
Yeah.
He thinks that his wife will going to be stoned. He thinks that his son will going to be killed. As a police officer, how do you worry for your police officer who's supposed to be protecting the other people?
Okay.
So I think the bottom line finally,
KNCHR has brought about the issue of the rights of both the demonstrators and the police officers. Yesterday, the president did speak to the international community, and more so on the Kenyans living in the diaspora, and more so in Germany. And he said that the rule of law, and we are going to be protecting life and property. Perhaps that's a telltale sign that maybe we could have discussions between the two leaders, because at the end of the day, Azimio are so adamant on their stand that this and this and this have to be done, but they also have to calm down. Should be the president, from what he said yesterday, could he be acting now the bigger brother and reaching out?
It is good always to have peaceful conversation, because that way, where there are conversations, where there are consultations, where there are discussions, always a very good outcome will come. But I think from the onset of the whole issue, some of the things that, if someone is still doubting that the presidency is illegitimate in the office, there's a problem. Because legitimacy issues has been resolved by IBC, and then we said IBC was not fair. We went to Supreme Court, and that was a ruling was made. So that way things have already been done in a civilized manner. So we don't talk about the legitimacy of a presidency who is legitimized very well through the process that we all respect. But the other thing, if there are other issues that we need to look at, leaders have to come together and discuss and talk about it. But it's not necessarily that saying President Ruto have to sit with Raila. No. We have a lot of leaders who have a say and who have a common issue on the matters that are going around. We could all call the leaders. We could also think of the leaders who have been elected to take their part, and each of us can submit our memoranda to our respected members of parliament, and they go and discuss those issues, and they will do it the way we want it, because they are representing the citizen of this country, and they, by virtue of being elected to that office, they are employees of the people of their constituents. So the bottom line is that I think it is well said in terms of reaching out to the leaders, but the issue of I have a bit of reservation on how the former premier wants to address issues. Why? If he's not recognized, then Kenya is not at peace. That way is not a very good thing. The best thing is, as an elder, as a leader, let him do things in a very wise way. Wisdom lies with elders. We all know. So, and as an elder, his wisdom should be beneficial to this young generation.
Mwalimu,
yes,
the head of state, I'm quite sure, of course, everybody is disturbed by what is happening in the country, because we are stagnating, the economy is on its knees, and more or less when we talk about every Monday and Thursday, we cannot be talking about anything good. We have the first one, we went to the second one, they stepped up the violence, and the mayhem that was there was stepped up. We do not know how things will pan out tomorrow. The head of state is expected, I think, tomorrow in the evening. He is the first person to say that the rule of law will be observed, and that telling everyone your rights will be protected. Could be on his way to come back and reach out to his brother?
That's what we are all praying. Actually, the mood in the country, when you walk around this country, the mood, you listen to the religious leaders, you listen to the professionals, they want the president to reach out. The president has nothing to lose by reaching out. He's the president of all of us. He's the president who can accommodate everyone. You know, when you are a driver and you're driving a bus, in your bus there may be pickpockets, there may be stubborn people, there may be people like us, Daktari says, who want their way or the highway. You know, there are all those kind of people in that bus that you are driving. But because you are the driver, you have the opportunity to be the driver by accommodating them in that bus. So our president has got a real role to play. His role is to be magnanimous, you know, to bring everybody on board. And he has nothing to lose by doing that. And Raila Odinga has also to know that when you breed anarchy, you reap anarchy. When you want to every time ask for war and demonstration, expect war and demonstration. So our leaders must reach out to each other. It's not about shaking hands, but it's about reaching out and speaking.
All right. In 30 seconds, wrap it up.
I think we want to live a very happy life in this country. We need peace. We are already struggling with our own life. Politicians should not mess us. And I think people who want to push young people to demonstrate, that is not the right way. Let's have a peaceful conversation. Let's talk about things that can help and change the living standard of our people. And that way we will be able to make a difference in our society.
Thank you so much. Well said, Dr. Harun Isaack Hassan, governance expert, and just next to him, Mwalimu Peter Amunga, communication expert and also a governance expert. Thank you indeed so much for joining us. Let's continue this conversation on social media as we have come to the tail end of this live conversation, but I'm giving the baton to now the Swahili desk, Tamrini and Kuruzi Mashinani coming up next. Thank you indeed so much for watching. I'm Ben Njue.